evening, Africa, and to our brothers and sisters around the world. I'm Akosua Prempeh, broadcasting to you from the United States of Africa, the voice of a new generation committed to truth, unity, and progress across our continent. Tonight, we continue our exclusive national interview with His Excellency Captain Ibrahim Traoré, President of Burkina Faso, a leader reshaping his nation through what he calls the progressive and popular revolution. In this special segment, the president opens up on the political and social transformation underway in Burkina Faso, from fighting corruption and digitizing the public sector to empowering youth through patriotic education, agricultural reform, and restoring dignity to traditional leaders. You'll hear his bold words on discipline, unity, and mental revolution, and his warning to the old political class that refuses to change. This is more than an interview. It's a blueprint for a new African mindset built on justice, hard work, and national pride. But before we begin, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it widely across Africa and the diaspora. Your engagement helps connect millions of Africans under one vision, one destiny, and one voice. Together, we are the United States of Africa.
So now we move on to the political and social section of this interview. And for that, we welcome Mathieu Somda from Radio Burkina and Colette Kombari from Impact TV. Good evening, dear colleagues. You also have 20 minutes to discuss with the head of state on the topic of politics and society.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, September 30th, 2022 to September 30th, 2025. Soon it will be 3 years of managing state power. What is your interim assessment in terms of implementing your vision and direction? Politically, through the progressive and popular revolution.
It must be said that we took over the country with a certain situation in terms of security, but also with a different situation economically and politically. There were a great many significant reforms to be made, so many in fact that we simply couldn't possibly list them all at once. So we had an ideology. We began to implement the revolution up until last April, when we officially proclaimed it. And when we talk about revolution, it means revolutionizing every aspect of our lives. Because we can't keep doing the same things as before and expect a different result. If we were just continuing as before, I think it would have been better to let the politicians carry on with their business. But we wanted to break away. And breaking away requires a lot of commitment. Thank God, the people understood. People realized that a break was necessary. Whether it's in terms of behavior, practices, governance, the economy, trade, and everything that goes along with it. And every day, I can tell you, we keep discovering new things. Because the system that was in place, I like to use a caricature and say it was like a big knot that we found. You untie one, another one appears. When you untie one, another one appears. So there were many problems in our society that we are currently working to solve. And thank God, I can say that many things have been initiated. And overall, for me at least, the results are satisfying, even though I think we can still make more effort. And if you wish, you can ask me questions about each area, because there are many things that have been started. Excellencies regarding the revolution, the progressives, there have certainly been explanations, but there are still some who want to better understand what this revolution is really about. The exact content, as I have said before, I will not disclose. If you allow everyone to know the details of what you intend to do, they can anticipate your actions. But we have outlined
the main points,
so that people can understand where we are headed. So if you notice, in the very model of governance, in the fight against corruption, and in good governance, the first thing is the example that leaders must set. As I said, you can't have a category of Burkinabe who, just because they've been given positions, get to choose between fine whiskey and good champagne, while women are dying on their way to fetch water from the river. They drown or something. It's just not acceptable. So there's this mindset that we need to have in order to build a just society. Everyone should be able to have access, for example, to clean drinking water. You can't just eat whatever you want, pick your meals, throw away whatever you like, while others can't even get a single meal. That's what led us to launch initiatives in agriculture, for example, because the majority of our population works in agriculture. But for a long time, we realized that they have been neglected. It's not that our land is poor, it's not that they lack the ability to work, but they also needed to be given that boost, which is what led us to create these initiatives. Today, I think the most important thing for me is that when you go into the countryside and ask the farmers questions, they can honestly tell you that now they feel good. They farm, they have enough to feed themselves, and the surplus they sell. Usually, it's the village elders who pay and create a security stockpile. And when, in certain areas or during certain periods, there are problems, they take it out and sell it at a well-subsidized price, accessible to everyone. So that's very important. The ideology of revolutionizing many sectors, when you look at the field of public finance, for example, we're in the process of digitizing many aspects with a lot of difficulty because people don't like it. Soon, for example, we're going to launch electronic invoicing. Already, when we brought up the idea, many major operators were opposed to it. Why don't they want transparency? Because people have gotten used to cheating, to stealing. It's like a norm. That's what's been established, so all of that needs to change. When it comes to infrastructure, there are a lot of things. The area of public procurement and everything related to it was actually the most corrupt sector. So you're an entrepreneur, you come to see us, we give you the contract, you overcharge. Then we give each other something under the table. That's a golden rule. And so when someone even comes with a different idea, you're automatically excluded. You're not allowed. If we let that continue, I don't think we could ever get out of it. We wouldn't be able to pay for weapons. Because, as I said, if you don't achieve economies of scale, you can't equip yourself. You won't find a single bank in the world where you can go and get a loan to buy weapons. That doesn't exist. It's with your own funds that you can equip yourself. In any case, we never had that opportunity. And if anyone knows of one, maybe we'd be interested. And everything we're acquiring, as I told you once, the amount is in the billions of dollars. How do we do it? Where did we get the money? That money was there. We had to clean up the financial sector, trade, and everything that goes with it. And regarding the operation of a state-owned company, you may have noticed this year's results. The results for 2024 are already impressive, and 2025 is looking even better than 2024. Let me take the hydrocarbon sector, where as early as 2023, we made tremendous progress. Before, there were government subsidies, meaning we were still collecting taxes to subsidize the company, to pay for the surpluses, the shortfalls, and all that. But now, the company is no longer in that situation. We've cleared all the company's debts, and it's starting to make a profit. It's because there was corruption in the sector. So there are so many situations, I can't list them all. So this field also needs to be revolutionized through digitalization and everything that comes with it. Basically, the entire administration is being digitalized so that people no longer have access to the circulating cash. And so that things are transparent, you, as the person requesting the service, know exactly what it covers and where your money is going. The infrastructure, as you can also see, is truly a critical issue. We're in the process of revolutionizing everything. So that's the mindset, to change the paradigm, to do things we weren't used to doing. So understand that from this statement.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, we've entered the progressive revolution and we're moving forward. But there is this segment of the population, the politicians, who used to be active before. What role can these politicians play now in this revolution?
I'm not going to be hypocritical again. If it's that political mentality, they have no place in the revolution. It's the opposite. Look at how Burkina Faso used to be. Because for 27 years, well, more than 27 years of Blaise's reign, and even the MPP's rule, it's just a continuation of the same politics. And this politics, our generation was born into it. So we were born and people grew up with a certain mentality. If you don't know someone, you can't access certain services, what we call deals. Everyone grew up with this mindset of deals, of corruption, of everything. It's dangerous, but it's the politics that led to this, because there are political entrepreneurs, you've heard about them, the young people, who rise up because they know how to speak, they know how to flatter. And what was politics? What is politics in Africa? We have to tell the truth. Someone who has the art of lying, of deceiving, of flattering, You see all the vices. If you combine all the vices, you're a good politician. That's the reality. Back in the village, when we saw someone who was a deceiver, who didn't tell the truth, we'd say, hey, that one, he's a politician. That's how we used to say it. So this mentality needs to change. Many have changed, many have understood, have changed, and are walking with us. Now, those who want to stick to their old political radicalism, they have no place here. Let's not kid ourselves. Otherwise, who wasn't involved in politics in Burkina? But it's the same people. It's because we've spoken, they've understood, and through actions they've realized that people are starting to change their mindset. And we want to change mindsets for good so that no one... I think that first you have to belong to a certain party to benefit from a road. You have to belong to a certain party to get a well. No, everyone in Burkina should benefit from the blessings of Burkina's nature and the work of the government. So politics, as I was saying, the way it's done divides people and gives special advantages to one group while the other group gets nothing. So no, we need to put a stop to that. So many have changed. There are some who hold positions of responsibility. People even point out to us saying, no, that person was active in such and such party. I tell the young people, no, we're not here to divide. We're here to unite. As long as the person understands and wants to do the work the way we want, we put them in place. Just as there are also some whom we entrusted with responsibilities, and after 2 or 3 months you saw that we had to go after them. Because if someone comes in and keeps trying to do the same things they used to do, we'll come after you and you'll be punished. So it's a change in mentality that we want. Everyone who changes their mindset is welcome on board the ship. But if you want to keep operating according to the old political ways, you have no place in the revolution.
Your Excellency, you've said it many times, order and discipline are necessary for the development of Faso. The retraining of young people has already begun. How can we involve the other segments of society?
That's right, very good. This program is a vast one, which we did not want to go into detail about. But I mentioned it once during one of my interviews that there is a large-scale program underway. We have to get started. Actually, young people are good, but they're not even our main target. It's the younger ones. The younger ones are our real target. After Sankara's death, as you know, we looked for all the daycare workers. Some of them even passed away, unfortunately, but the daycares were closed. Maybe it's the private sector that managed, opening a few preschools and such. And well, school became something else entirely. You know, if you want a society that will be combative and competitive tomorrow, you have to invest in children. Today, I separated the two ministries so that the Ministry of Basic Education could take this aspect into account. You see, we launched a lot of recruitment through the regular exam to provide supervision for early childhood. But we have just exceptionally launched another round for those who have already been trained, whom we want to recruit so that this year we can start a certain program. They are the target group. And we will get there. We have a program so that we can start a certain patriotic and civic education at the level of the youngest children. And once that's instilled there, we will have good citizens tomorrow. We're also doing this with the youth. The high school graduates, we had them go through immersion. They were afraid at first, but I think they've understood a lot of things. They need to be more supportive, humble. They need to understand Burkina, because someone who was born, in Ouaga 2000 here, who is in, you see, he sleeps in whatever bed he wants. He even complains that the mattress isn't good enough. In the morning, he gets to choose whatever he wants for breakfast. During immersion, he sleeps on the floor on a mat. He will understand that there are other Burkinabés who sleep on the floor. During immersion, he doesn't get to choose his breakfast. If there is any, he eats what everyone else eats. Already in his mind, he understands that there are two sides to Burkina Faso. And I said during immersion to deprive them. There are days when they will have 2 meals, days with 1 meal and days with no meals at all. I hope they did it. It's so that they understand life. We're young, but if we've reached this age and still haven't understood that there are different kinds of Burkinabés, that's dangerous. Young people need to understand that there are some who can't even afford a meal. And when he goes to bed hungry after a whole day without eating, do you really think that if tomorrow he's given a responsibility, his mind will always be on, if I squander money while there are people who have nothing to eat, it's his conscience that will make him grow. So these are the challenges we make them go through. I had planned for 45 days, but because of the registrations, I decided to make it 30 days. But for the next sessions, I hope we'll go for 45 days. So future high school graduates and STAR certificate holders should prepare themselves to face this. and the program will continue to grow. This was the first experience, but we hope to be able to change even the mentality of the youth.
Your Excellency, in the Council of Ministers, the decision to reform the agrarian and land law, as well as the status of customary and traditional chiefs, was adopted. What are the motivations behind this?
The agrarian reform was necessary. You know how many conflicts have arisen over this issue of land. There are villages that have fought with machetes, families that have been divided because of land issues. The state must take responsibility. But if you hesitate because you're afraid to declare this, that some people might feel frustrated or not, that's why the revolution is welcome. At some point, you have to decide to put an end to all this. How many real estate developers were there in Burkina in 2010? I don't think so. It wasn't even 20. Suddenly in 2015, there were more than 200. They bought up land everywhere, they're dividing it up. They sell, they resell, they've plundered the land, and it's dangerous. Right now we have a C4 application that we've just launched. We're in the process of re-registering. But what's happening is terrible. Even plots in the cities, people sell and resell them to several people because it wasn't digitized. It's a huge registry. Do you think someone can go through the registries, find the parcel number, see who it belongs to? So you went and bought it, but it's not. So there are a lot of duplicates and it creates conflicts. And while those politicians were doing that, they're there at conferences, events, talking about social cohesion. You can't promote social cohesion while dividing people over land. That's why we decided to take responsibility and put a stop to this massacre. And so the land belongs to the state. And from now on, we'll do everything we can to balance the situation as much as possible so that people don't feel wronged. It's the same for the traditional chieftaincy. This law has existed for a long time. A very long time from what I've been told, but no one wants to apply it. But we have decided to get involved, to take a closer look, because as far as I'm concerned, the traditional chieftaincy must be respected, must be listened to, and must be the ones working for social cohesion. When they speak, when there is a conflict, a contentious situation, they must speak up to bring people together, and their voice must carry weight. So there are a certain number of privileges, I can say, that have been put in place, symbols of authority that have been established around them, so that people respect them. Whether we like it or not, we respect them, and that they themselves command respect. Because lately politicians had led them astray. Many people today regret having marched alongside the politicians. There are villages where people are divided, people no longer respect the chiefs. But with this law, in any case, that we brought to the LTE, we tried to broaden many things so that their respect in society could be restored. And that's very important.
Your Excellency, the fight against terrorism is affecting our social fabric with suspicions of community exaltation. Living together is threatened by a right. How can we get Burkinabés to reconnect? With core values such as solidarity, civic-mindedness, and social cohesion.
I think these values are coming back on their own. On the contrary, the war has also led people to understand many things, and people are starting to unite more. You know, social inequalities create more problems for social cohesion than terrorism does. There is too much social inequality. I was telling some people, listen, you have eaten your fill. How are you going to sit down with someone who hasn't eaten anything? Talking about social cohesion, it's just not possible. It's the same situation I just mentioned to you. We have to try as much as possible to bring people to a certain level, as long as wealth is properly distributed. That's the first step. When it comes to abuses and everything else, we need to be careful. There are a lot of people who have made allegations. It was recently when we saw the case in Solenzo, they released images, talked and talked. We didn't say anything, we stayed calm. When they finished making noise, we showed the truth. The civilians who claimed the forces had killed were brought here to Ouagadougou and put in safety. If they were killed, why are they in Ouagadougou? How did they end up in Ouagadougou? Often it's done on purpose. They make up whatever they want with their NGOs, their media, and all that. But we let it go. And when they're done, we show the truth. That's it. The terrorists did use civilians as human shields. That's true, but the forces were able to tell the difference. After the fighting, they gathered the civilians in Solenzo. We sent the necessary resources to transport them here. They were presented in front of everyone, hundreds of civilians. They gave their testimony. So we need to be careful with the narrative of certain people who just want to push their own theories and whose goal is to divide us. But we must not fall into that trap.
Your Excellency, we have noticed this year there has been a resumption of social dialogue between the government and the unions after several years of interruption. What specific message does your government truly send to its valued social partners, especially knowing that the overall situation was quite tense between the government and the various unions?
Just as it was tense between the government and the journalists, everyone needs to understand that we must fight for our homeland. We made it clear, I spoke with the union leaders. I brought them together here. I spoke to them at a certain point in our history. But I was disappointed afterwards. So I told them, either you are Burkinabe or you are not Burkinabe. So the standoff began. But afterwards we decided to meet with them again because we assumed they had understood the message. And even then, I won't lie, when they came, they still wanted to understand, to display certain behaviors, the actions we take. It doesn't work. The country's at war. We have to do everything for the country. This imported unionism, that's not real unionism. There are even some who boast about having participated in Sankara's downfall. And they're the ones who started it all and so on. Do you really think that's a good thing? The Westerners manipulate you and you keep acting just the way they want you to. That's not unionism. A union fights for the interests of the workers. But most of the time, what the leaders really want is just to get a seat at the table with those in power. And people keep quiet. No. Listen, we have a lot of files on a lot of, not just the unionists. In society, we have a lot of files. The people who approached us at the beginning, who wanted favors, who wanted things that we refused, who then turned away, who left, who spoke out, we have their files. So as for healthy unionism, there are many actions we've taken. We didn't wait for people to take to the streets to act. When I spoke about daycare workers, it wasn't someone who came to tell us that there were workers who had been let go and needed to have their rights restored. We saw a case and decided that they needed to have their rights restored. We told the FI ministers, we'll find the necessary funds to resolve this. The people from City Hall, the Green Brigade, those who work, they had months of back pay owed to them. For these people, those who are out of work, people weren't fighting for them before. No one came to us to tell us about it. For me, the women sweep in front of my house. One of my men went out once and they said, it's been months like this, their work. I looked into it and I was told, it's true. I said, that's unacceptable. We need to make up for everything they've missed. Some of them had several dozen months of back pay owed. We pulled out the file and decided to make up for all of that. So we need to engage in union work. It's a problem that people bring to us and explain to us. If we can solve it, we'll tell you we can do it. If we can't, we'll tell you, well, for now we can't, but we'll be able to do it in a certain amount of time. But if there's a problem, we gather the media and speak however we want. I hope they'll find the solution with you. Otherwise, if after that you don't come to us anymore, I want us to work in an African way. When there's a problem at home, we sit down, we talk, and we have to be truthful. What we can do, we must say clearly that we can do it. What we can't do, we'll also tell you that we can't. Now, if you don't want to, everyone does what they can. But we have to be responsible. And there's no problem that can't be solved. And as I always say, we must act with the nation's best interest in mind. That's very important. So we've resumed the dialogue as we do with everyone. We haven't broken off dialogue with anyone. Everyone is here, welcome.
Thank you, dear colleague. The time allotted for this segment has come to an end and even gone well over. We thank you for this series of questions dedicated to the political and social section.
Now that you've heard the President's message, 1. Do you believe revolutionizing mindsets is the key to Africa's transformation more than changing leaders? 2. What lessons can other African nations learn from Burkina Faso's political and social reforms? Leave your thoughts below in the comments and let's continue the conversation across the continent.